All right, welcome everyone to our holiday town hall special edition. We got a bunch of awesome people from the team joining us today. We'll let Priya kick things off with the introduction, and then she'll pass it along to each subsequent team member. You guys will get a little intro from them and all the fun things they have to share from their respective areas of expertise. Priya, over to you.
So, thank you so much. Hey guys, it's the first time I think I've been introduced to all of you. So let me do a quick introduction of myself first. My name is Priya. I am the executive producer of GOG. I've been here for about I've been here for about 9 to 10 months now. I've spent the last 10 years in gaming, starting from Facebook Games, went on to Voodoo, and then to Animoca Brands, and now at Immutable. Launched about 15 to 20 games in my career so far. 60% of them have reached the top charts and stayed there. So really excited to be here with all of you and to share with you all of the updates that we have on GOG moving forward. Can go on to the next slide. All right. So you all must be wondering why Clay isn't here. I mean, he's usually the face of the town halls. So just a little update on Clay. After his, he hit 5 years in Immutable in October this year. And as a result of his dedicated service and contributions to the game, the company has rewarded him with a recharge break. So he's on break till Jan 2025 to recharge, spend some time with his family. He'll be enjoying some gym time, hiking, snorkeling, gaming with his kids. But no worries on our side that the team is fully prepped and the game is in great hands. While he's not in our public channels, we can always reach out to him internally if required. And he's super grateful for all of your support, and he really can't wait to catch up with all of you in the new year. Moving on to an update on the game specifically. So if you look at the chart over there, you would be able to see our MAU and how it's been trending. We've maintained a remarkably steady and stable user base of about 11.2 to 11.5k players, and this is despite UA efforts that we actually stopped a couple of months back because of the fraud concerns that we have and the exploits that we were actually seeing in game. However, despite this, we've remained stable, and this stability really does demonstrate the game's core strength and the organic appeal of the game, right? So ever since we stopped UA, we sort of really wanted to use that period to focus inward, whereby we would be able to optimize our systems, create systems where we can enhance monetization in game and also build a stronger foundation. So in a way that the games was kind of like clawed back to like a semi or like a pre-soft launch stage so that we could focus on those things. And the comprehensive roadmap that I'll be sharing today from November till February will further strengthen these fundamentals and actually show you how we are planning on execute these plans. Now, while we have these improvements in place, we will hopefully want to be well positioned to restart UA again with greater confidence, right? But in order for us to be able to do that, we need to make sure that we create sufficient systems in game for us to be confident that our conversion rates and our LTVs for the game are going to be strong, right? This doesn't mean that in the meantime we will not be doing anything. We do want to develop more organic acquisition channels through things like partnerships, and enhanced RAF system, which is upcoming in this cycle, and also some community growth initiatives that we are actually planning for. Right. So our next steps include executing on these robust feature roadmap that I will be sharing with the team today, preparing for a UA restart post this optimization, and ultimately developing these organic UA channels in the meantime. Next slide, please. All right. So just an update on engagement. You have two charts over there on the left-hand side, which showcases our day 1, day 7, day 14, and day 30 across Android and iOS. So starting with the core metrics, they show really stable performance. We are seeing very healthy day one retention that's averaging between 35% to 45%, with some days hitting the 50% mark as well. And that's a 10 percentage point uplift that we've seen post October. And it also indicates our initial player experience is resonating well with new users, right? Now, looking at the longer term engagement, our day 14 rates are at about 8 to 12%. Our day 30 rates are within the range of 5 to 8%, right? Which means that it's almost hitting industry standards for similar games. At the same time, we've also seen a 2x uplift from the time in October. In fact, we had a peak day 30 retention on Android at 14% a couple of weeks back, right? So all of this shows how we're really successfully converting a solid proportion of our players into regular users. However, at the same time, this is also where we see our biggest opportunity for improvement, right? The good thing is that we don't see any concerning downward trends. Our engagement patterns do indicate a pretty healthy player life cycle. But if we look at our day 14 to day 30 transition specifically, I think our key focus moving forward will be optimizing for that day 7 to day 14 transition period, because that's where we see our most significant drop off. And we need to be able to enhance our long term retention metrics to be able to improve our day 30 rates. There Sorry, if you could go back to the previous slide, just for me to add on a point. So, these three games sort of lay the benchmark that we actually want to have for our game. So, they range between the 10 to 15% day 30 retention mark, and that's the metric that we actually want to strive for next. So, our areas of focus are really going to be improving that day 7 to day 14 retention first by focusing on enhanced mid game engagement. Next, even optimizing our early game experience, perhaps in the next cycle, to boost our day one retention above 50%. And then lastly, to include additional retention mechanics between day 14 to day 30 to reduce our drop-offs. And that's a great segue for me to introduce our upcoming feature developments and live ops initiatives for our November to February strategy. Next slide, please. All right. So let me walk you through our strategic direction for the next quarter, right? You can really think of it as 4 different pillars that we are addressing, right? This is a mix of things that our players have highlighted as important to their experience, and at the same time addresses business objectives, right? I'm not going to go through every single feature in the town hall today because some are still undergoing design, but I do want to share with you like the big buckets and perhaps some exciting highlights of each bucket. Right? So the first pillar is the economy rebalancing and player value enhancements, right? So you can think of it as economic health, right? Our data shows that we have a currency inflation that's affecting player engagement. So we are implementing a series of live ops events and features to restore that balance while also maintaining player value, right? This will include 3 major live ops events that will be designed to create engaging resource opportunities. And there'll be more on this later to be discussed by our economy and monetization lead and game designer, Brahma. Now, secondly, we are also addressing player feedback about collection value of their guardians and its engagement opportunities. Right. Now, for our collectors, we want to be able to introduce something called a Guardian's Resonance system and also a new summon shop. This directly responds to player feedback about wanting more value from their Guardian collection beyond just the meta choices that they have. Now, the third bucket is being able to create a personalized shop experience both on the Web2 side and the Web3 side for our players, right? So we want to be able to reimagine our shop experience to better serve different player segments, right? Whether you are a new player or a veteran, we want you guys to be able to find offers that meaningfully enhance your gameplay experience. And so we're going to be inputting a range of starter, tiered, progressive, and convenience-based offers that are actually currently being designed and also create like a whole new shop experience on Web2. There's also going to be a VIP subscription system, which is currently being designed and will be executed hopefully later towards the cycle. Now, finally, we've gotten we've got engagement-focused features that have come from a mix of community feedback, our white paper, and it's also internally driven by the team, designed specifically to enhance player retention and social interactions. The expectation is that these features will create more ways for players to enjoy the game together, and it will include things like pets, which has been released earlier, guild crafting, some quality of life updates in the game, and a possible new gameplay mode. I shall leave this as a surprise. Right now, each of these initiatives have been carefully chosen to create sustainable growth while also enhancing the player experience. I'm pretty sure you guys are excited to learn a little bit more about what each of these are. So I'll hand over to our product and economy team, who will walk you through some of these exciting features. We've not done this before, so it's a rare opportunity we're having now to introduce you to the broader team, which I'll introduce very very briefly. So we have Josiah, our game designer, who will share about some of our big impact features. Howie, our economy designer, who will share about our upcoming Web3 features. We've got Brahma, who's our game designer focused on monetization, economy, and he'll be sharing about our live ops updates. And then we've got Jillian, who's our Alta and Aristore head and UI UX head, who will be sharing about exciting updates related to the Alta. And we'll save up for QA at the end with Apocalypse and Sonic driving the questions that y'all have live as well. Just a small note, many of these features are still in development. And so we'd greatly value your feedback to help us optimize them as long as they fall within our design principles. Our team has really crafted these features with careful consideration of player needs and game health, but your insights will really help make them even better. With that, over to the team to kickstart.
Slide, please. Okay, I am very, very excited to announce this. Web3 guild crafting, we are putting the guild back into Guild of Guardians. It is probably the most ambitious mobile GameFi economy mechanic ever made. It's the first feature I worked on when I joined Immutable 3 years ago. It's gone through about a dozen iterations, and we are excited to announce that it will go live tomorrow. So for launch, we will have a new NFT collection called an Essence Box or Essences, and you will be able to craft, mint, burn, trade, and transfer these NFTs. To create Essence Boxes, you and your guild will have to farm material and Unity power, and the material and Unity power will determine the type and rarity of the Essence Boxes you craft. We will have an on-chain royalty distribution management system for guild leaders to distribute the proceeds of the Essence Box sales to their guild members at a pro rata rate to the guild member contribution. So it's a lot of words, I know, but basically, if you donate 10%, you'll get 10% of the royalties allocated to you. Roughly, right? Don't quote me on the exact numbers. Detailed blog post to be published this week, where you can see the numbers. We preserve all the original white paper promises, such as the guild leader guaranteed first cut. So the second thing I want to talk about is that this is a limited time event. This being a brand new feature, something that's never been done before, the only way to really test this is to test it live. We have internally play tested the hell out of it, but we need live feedback. So what we are proposing or we're offering is this. We will provide temporary free minting of Essence Boxes during this trial period. Right? They will cost Ascension Seals later, but we will balance the cost of the Ascension Seals to the data that we receive during this 2-week period. Guilds will keep their Essence Boxes, or if these Essence Boxes are sold, everyone keeps the NFTs. No NFTs will be removed at the end of this trial. But everything else about the system is subject to change, right? So all the values, the amount of essence that gets burned from these boxes, all those things are subject to change, right? We'll officially launch this system in January after a rebalance. And when that occurs, there will also be a central seal minting cost. Next slide, please. So what do you do with these essence boxes? You burn these boxes and you obtain refined essence. This refined essence allows you to craft potions, and these potions allow you to strategically increase your power and overcome the specific challenges that you have. We will design additional potions in future, but we will start with these 6 base potions. We will take feedback on the utility of these potions, what you think the value is, the costs, and we'll use this as part of our rebalancing. So there are 6 potions here. There are 3 battle potions, which directly increase your power in a dungeon. And there are 3 utility potions, and these potions provide utility outside dungeons. I think the battle potions are pretty self-explanatory, but the utility potions I'll go into a little bit more. So there is a potion of productivity, which after use reduces factory item cooldown for a limited time. There is a potion of deception, which after use you will be, if you win your arena match, you will be temporarily hidden from the other player's revenge list. And finally, there's a catch-up potion of experience. So this allows players to gain extra commander XP during in-adventure modes, but there is a cap on how on its usage. And currently, we've decided that the max level is 80. These potions will come in 3 rarities. Each of these potions will come in 3 rarities, and the cost to craft these potions will depend on the essences and the quality of the essences you use to craft them. Again, all potion values effects subject to post-trial balance. Yes, going live tomorrow. Next slide, please. Okay, guild chat. Also going live tomorrow. Sometimes Discord messages get left on read. Not everyone in GOG uses Discord, and we think to coordinate your guild for crafting, guild chat is pivotal. So we've added guild chat, long requested feature. We are currently investigating more social features, things like global chat, direct messaging, and easier content sharing, but no promises on exactly when these will be released. Okay, next slide, please. Enlightenment and Radiance. Okay, so another big one. Heard your feedback on this. We internally also have the same feedback. Me, as the person that oversaw the initial development, has always thought that this system was a bit too complex, and it was frankly hard for me to understand, and I constantly have to reference the spreadsheet and other internal tables to find out the costs. So we've done a lot here already. First thing we did was we did full hearts. Right? We wanted to see what the impact was of removing RNG from the system was, and full hearts got very positive reception. So what we've decided to do is remove the RNG element from Radiance, right? And the reason we did this is there are several problem statements, right? Number 1, if you failed Radiance, that was a really unpleasant experience. Number 2, created Guardians that failed Radiance, then sometimes these Guardians were considered broken, meaning that it was more costly for you to try Radiant this Guardian versus just starting again with a new Guardian. And then finally, yes, just complex and hard to explain. So this is, I would say, half a step to a full solution, right? And the reason for this, I'll talk about more, and I'll also leave some time for Q&A at this. So we'll separate Enlightenment progression and Radiance progression. Radiance will still remain as a mechanic, right? The chances of failing Radiance will be removed, right? Instead, every time you sacrifice a Radiant Guardian, the value of the Radiant Souls will accumulate towards an XP bar, so you don't lose progress, right? And then, when you fill up the XP bar, your Radiance occurs deterministically. The overall cost of the Radiance system for Gen 1 Guardians will remain unchanged. All right. So, but what does this mean when there's RNG? Well, basically, it means the average cost of Radiance will stay the same. And so, some people who have Radianced may have gotten very lucky and been successful in their first attempt. Okay. Those people kind of, maybe they feel they have lost out. But there are other people who have tried 10 times and have failed. And so what this system does is it aligns it to the average cost, right? And so the overall cost of Radiance for those is unchanged. So, if you have a 1510 Guardian for example, don't think that other players are going to get to 1510 easier than you. It's more that the RNG system, which a lot of players hated, has been removed. We won't be able to change the cost of the Radiance until we get to a Gen 2 Guardian. Right? And so this is that half step. And when we do that Gen 2 Guardian, we may consider reducing the cost or further augmenting this Radiance system. Right? And it's a tough one because people have spent money to Radiance. Right? For those people who right now have not completed Radiance, right? For example, if you've already failed twice, right? What we will do is we will fill up your XP bar in a favorable way, right? So we can't go into the details of this because it is quite complex, but rest assured that for our players who have failed Radiance right now, let's say you are Radiant 8 and you try to go to 9 and you fail twice, right? You don't lose those 2 failures, right? Okay. I'm gonna pause here because this is the end of my section and I've covered a lot, and give a quick maybe 2-3 minutes to answer some questions. Oh my god, there's a lot. Okay, I think I answered what about Lost Radiance. Long for me to read. Okay, we're gonna have some time at the end for Q&A. So I'm gonna move on and hand it over to the next speaker. Next slide, please. Oh, no, sorry, still me. Guff's Vault enhancement. Sorry. Okay, so Guff's Vault has been pretty successful for us so far. It's given reason for players to hold their tokens as opposed to instantly dumping them. And recently, we've seen pretty good token health as a result of that. Now, we're committed to improving this in the future. We have short-term improvements already, which allows you to increase your token pledge mid-epoch. So if you do get your leaderboard reward, you can put it back into Guff's Vault. We also want to do auto repledge, so that means you don't have to sort of like manually time the start of the epoch, which we know from time zone perspective is onerous for people. But these are short-term things that we can do really quickly. Longer term, I am envisioning a more comprehensive redesign that aims to align the incentives of players in a way that reduces leakage and encourages retention. So longer term, what we want to do is shift from people spending GOG, people holding GOG. And the utility that currently is derived from spending GOG will instead be attributed to the holding of GOG. So this will simplify the link. Part of this would be to carve out some exclusive utility for the GOG holding, and simplify how players use their GOG basically. And we also want GOG to have in-game representation. Now it's been more than a year since we spoke to Apple last. In that time, 11:30. Crypto has, continued to show that it's a permanent part of this world. I think we will have a better chance when we have a stable game that's performing well to make the case for why GOG should be able to appear in game. Right. Okay, that's not to say that we will be selling GOG in game or accepting GOG as payment. Right. Like I said, the broader shift would be to move from spending GOG into incentivizing players to hold GOG. Okay, that is the end for my part, and I will pass it on. Next slide, please.
Yo, long time no see. Josiah here, game designer. Been around for a long time. Some of the old folks around here may know me. Yeah, so let's talk about pets real quick. So right off the bat, you'll see it split into V1 and V2. You remember some of the old promises around pets and how they were focused around a lot of the resources that we had for like what I call GOG 1.0, the old GOG. Yeah, the voice. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. I've also been sick too, so like it's a little extra grumbly more than normal. But thank you. Hearts. But yeah, so when we were working on the Pets V1 to adapt them for the new version of GOG, like some of the top things we were looking for is make sure we minimize the variance from the original designs, make sure that we kept up with the original intent of like some are used for certain material acquisition, some are used for others. Some of the early discussions around whether or not they would be used in combat, things like that. But ultimately, our top goals were to make sure that the founders filled a like a unique gap that if and when we release pets in the future, they don't kind of like stomp all over founder utility. Like the founder pets stay unique for as long as possible, essentially. And a lot of this was laying the groundwork for pet iterations that we hope to do in the future. So you'll see that I noted here that a lot of these designs for pets are design complete, but they are like TBD release because we have not committed internally to even pursuing these on a dev timeline yet. But some of those ideas include like new ways to acquire pets, how to grow pets, how to progress pets, how to bring pets into combat, showing off your pets. Like I've seen demos of pets walking around on the Haven screen. So like we're working in those areas, and yeah. So like when I see questions about like why are pet skills shared between pets, and what's the point of owning 12 pets instead of just the 3 that I want? Like a lot of the systems that we have designed for Pets V2 include ways to like more or less breed those pets together or mash those pets together, share skills between pets. So like that's why a lot of these systems are the way they are. But yeah, I can talk more about that in the future, you know, if we head down that direction. But yeah, as a reminder, it's TBD, not internally approved to start working on that stuff. Next slide. Save squads, another huge, highly requested feature. Making sure you can pre-construct squads of guardians, save like the organization of those guardians. Like I always want to play with these top 5 or these other 5 for another game mode. You know, you'll be able to have loadouts essentially of guardians specifically, and quickly swap between them on the fly. The save squads feature when it's on its release will not include gear at the moment, and there's a reason for that. The first reason is that like I think we'll probably end up doing like a save squads 2.0 that we can like introduce that functionality at like a next step. But there's another feature that we're going to talk about further down when Brahma gets his turn that talks about a new way that we're going to manage gear in the future. So yeah, next slide, please. All right, so summon shop. So this is like one of the economy things that we were talking about earlier at the very top. Like we notice, and we can look at the data and we see that like there's some players have like thousands of summoning stones. Some players have as little as like 5. But like if we want to adjust like the evergreen pools and things like that, and fill them with content that players need are gonna want to utilize because you know like they have unique gameplay effects or they're good for radiancing or burning just to farm for faction souls or something like that. We need a way to like balance out the supply first so that it's not something that you can just come in and get it all done in like less than 30 seconds. So we want to run a limited event with the summoning shop where you get coins based off of the results that you get from the summoning shop. And then you can spend these coins in a limited time store. And inside the store is rare and unique content that we have not released before. That'll be gated by like how many times you summoned. So a quick example is like, if we want to release, I don't know, a new Guardian or something like that, and we could say, okay, if to get this new Guardian, you have to do, I don't know, random numbers here, 500 summons, and then you also have to have 10,000 coins. It's in the shop. It's there for you to get. Stuff like that. And it would be a Web 2 Guardian ready for you to go. Yeah, I think that's me. Let's take it over to Brahma.
Thank you. So yeah, we just heard from Josiah, who is one of the longest serving members on the team, and I am one of the more recent people on the team. I joined the GOG project at start of November, so I've been about 6 weeks. But I have been at Immutable for 2.5 years, having worked on game design and economy for Gods Unchained, Shardbound, and Metalcore. So yeah, I'm excited to present all the things that I will be bringing to this game. It starts with the new Endless test, dubbed Shieldbreaker. So as you can see, we have certain goals. We have been hearing your complaints about the time commitment for Endless and how RNG mechanics, negative RNG mechanics, they feel not satisfying. So we're going to be running a endless variant. We're testing out how it feels. One of the main goals here is to reduce the time commitment, and then also like I mentioned, we're going to be removing negative RNG mechanics, and we're going to be using Arsenal Shop from special events to try out positive RNG mechanics. One of the key changes here is that we're going to replace the pre-configured difficulty selections with a system that scales difficulty based on how much time it takes for you to clear a room. That is then factored as a representation of your performance and scaled accordingly. So yeah, keep an eye on this test. We will be running this, we'll be gathering data, we'll be gathering your feedback, and we will be iterating on it to improve it less. Next slide, please. Guardian level up. I'm very excited to talk about this one. We have been hearing your complaints about how difficult it is to acquire new Guardians when you have a set of Guardians that are already high level, and it's difficult to introduce new Guardians. It's difficult to experiment, and the current economy allows you or supports you to have 5 to 7 Guardians at the top level. So we are making a sweeping change where you no longer individually progress Guardians. There will be now a central system, and all your guardians are the same level directed by the system. And then we will also have a feature called Guardian Care, which is basically a loadout that applies to all your guardians. And then after a certain point in your progression, you can individually equip for your guardians, which is same as right now. And yes, golden XP scrolls are still maintained, and they will go into leveling up all your guardians. So we can get a sneak peek on the next slide. Yeah, so you can see this is not the final version, but this is how it'll look like. Your central system will dictate the level of all your guardians. And we can take a look at the equipment system on the next slide. So you can equip equipment based on rules, and this will apply to all your guardians of the same rule. And then you can see that there is a tab called Gear where you can also uh, equip equipment for individual guardians. So you will continue playing with specialized guardians as you will have, but for new players, they can use the resonance system so they don't have to micromanage equipment at the start until a specific milestone. Next slide, please. Now I'll take this time to talk about our live operations. Next slide, please. Yep. So our live ops calendar. So what's our goal for the near future? We have a lot of feedback from you about the game modes being super time consuming, and there's like an appetite for freshness and innovative ways of playing the game. Uh, we don't want to replace any of our existing game modes without fine tuning what we have. So for the future, our direction is to introduce game modes in test versions that are, complementary to Endless. So they're going to be arena based. They're going to focus on short experiences. And we're going to try and rotate them so that you get a breadth of like different experiences. Uh, and then we will be fine tuning them and make a potential decision of which of those could become permanent. And the way we're going to do this is with a different calendar structure. And more importantly, we would love your feedback on the calendar structure as we go ahead and fine tune the game modes and how you access them. So within this calendar structure, what is on the horizon?
Your
What
microphone is like, it's dying.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know if anybody else hears it, but I can barely understand you now.
Is it back?
We see something.
Yeah.
Test.
Testing?
You both are. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
no,
just
it's. No, I can hear you as well. It's a bit like a robot, but you will let you know.
Can you at least skip both
I think
now?
it's
Oh my
or
goodness.
the whole stream is just like it's falling apart.
I see. I
Maybe
see.
you're like, I don't know. What do you think?
Technical difficulties. If you can't hear me.
You want to remove your mic, maybe? I don't know if that's gonna work.
Yeah, Australian
But
internet.
just give him a couple of seconds. Be back.
I just sharing my mic. Am I
Josiah, do you maybe want to take over just for the time being, and then we can check in a little bit
Yeah,
later?
if I'm not having issues, I can go through the slides.
Okay.
I don't know where he left off. I'm just gonna assume he got through on this one. Fair play, very introduced. Yep, we're gonna try to vary the gameplay moves as much as possible, provide more engaging experience, so you're not kind of constantly like grinding on the same thing week after week after week after week after week. Like we know that's boring. We know it's a great time expenditure. Yeah, we're gonna try to add some variety there as much as possible and work on ways to make sure that the time that you do spend the time in the game is time you feel is well spent, not time that you feel like you are spending because you have to. Next slide, please. Yeah, here's the calendar. I'm not going to speak too much about it. We broke it up into some rows and some columns here, but feel free to take screenshots and scrutinize it, and you can see the releases, the different game modes that were already staples. You can see the game modes we're going to investigate further in the future. But yeah, give you a couple of seconds to look at that, and then we can move on to the next one.
Josiah, it's a little fast and roboty on your side as well. Try speaking a little bit slowly. I think I think it's a Discord thing that's happening, but
Yep, I can talk a
yeah,
little slower.
continue.
All right, economy in the store. This is the downside about picking up somebody else's slides when you get to the one that's got like 1,000 words on it, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna read this live, whatever. All right, so yeah, the 2 points here are that I kind of mentioned this earlier with one of the other slides I was talking about. Economy sinks is what I said earlier. But yeah, like we're looking at ways to try to address the Web 2 economy. We have a big dashboard that Brahma thankfully put together for us, tracking all of the Web 2 resources and currencies we have in the game. And we can see that quite a few of them, especially after like some key moments in the past, have skyrocketed and inflated in some areas. So it's one of our key priorities this cycle is bringing a lot of that stuff back in line. We know there's some touchy ones. We know there's some ones that people would probably be happy to see them come back in line, because then it would be more like a more engaging experience instead of something that's just like throwing away free money because you don't care about it at that point. Also doing some store experimentations. You've probably seen those as well. You've seen some new content drops come through, new bundles. We talked about starter packs and progression specific bundling going on in the store as well. Going to keep experimenting in those areas as well. So yeah, just keep an eye out, and you might see something that you like come soon. Next slide. The altar. Yeah, this is Impusa. Let's see if her mic works.
Sorry, I had to find my microphone. So we can get through this quickly and we can get to Q&A. The long and short of it is, as a UX designer, I've never been happy with how the altar looks and works, so we reworked it. We've got a pretty good and intuitive crafting system in the game, so we modeled it based on that. We're looking to drop it pretty soon. We're just finishing up some last minute QA on it. But yeah, it'll basically be, you can see a list of all the recipes that are currently live. You can see whether or not you have the ingredients to, yeah, sorry, that's my bird. Digby is a real bird from Gods Unchained, and she belongs to me. Anyway, yeah, so the altar will look a lot like the crafting in game, where you see all of the recipes, you see all of the ingredients that they require, you see whether or not you have them. If you don't have them, it can bring you right over to Token Trove to get some new ones. And you'll be able to see like drop tables and whatnot. So there's no more like memorizing what is the recipe for a legendary cracked heart. It'll just guide you straight through that. You know, here's all of your legendaries. Pick the ones you want to sacrifice here. Here's all of the epics, etc. Also, if anybody has any ideas for things that they want to see as recipes in the altar, just feel free to send them my way. That'll be things that you have too much of and want to burn, things you don't have enough of and want a chance to be able to roll for, stuff like that. That's me.
All right. Your voice came in pretty clear, so maybe it's fixed itself. I think we pass it over to Howie for the next AMA segment. Next slide. See if he comes through clear.
Yes. Hello, I hope you can hear me. I am also in Australia. This is a big one. I apologize for the wall of text, but there were several questions asked, and I'm trying to answer all those questions in one slide. So game ecosystem health questions. What do we think about the current state of the ecosystem? So as Priya presented, we think the current game ecosystem, based on purely organic growth, is at a pretty stable state. Right? It's slightly declining based on the fact that we need retention to increase, and we also need additional users. So the big focus is, if we want to improve the ecosystem, and I mean the floor values of NFTs, the token prices, we must bring in new users, right? And these users have to be good users. In the past, we've spent a lot of money on marketing and inorganic acquisition. And what we found was actually we were attracting bad users. And so over the last few months, you would have seen there was a big incident regarding refund fraud, which we think suppressed NFT prices and caused NFTs to be sold below their ascension seal costs. There was many cases of multi-account and botting, in which case we had to deny rewards and spend a lot of time fixing and troubleshooting that. And then finally, more recently, there was a transfer fraud exploit where someone built a tool that allowed you to effectively use Guardians that you did not own. We've taken quite drastic measures here, including several multiple bans, and introducing things like face match, which we know is not a pleasant user experience. But the good news is we've stopped all cases of refund fraud as a result of these systems. And now our economy and overall community, we think, is at a much better place. Overall, what we've learned is that organic users are much more likely to stay within the ecosystem and not value extract. And so going into 2025, what we want to do is we want to lean into this a lot more. And we want to help players and help guilds to acquire high quality users. So we will have some features in place to assist that. Things like buffing up our refer a friend program and making it more guild specific. Things like catch up mechanics for new players. And we've done that already with the new potion utility, plus potentially revamped evergreen banner that allows more utility in the summoning stones. Tokenomic enhancements that align incentives so that you don't have to choose between holding versus spending. And leaning into more token-based Web3 marketing initiatives as opposed to traditional user acquisition. We will also fine-tune our anti-exploit systems to try to basically allow a safe level of bad actors, but at the same time not deterring new players from playing the game instantly. And some of that will require things like tutorialization. But we really want to lean on our guilds to bring in new players and take them through the journey, because we know our game is quite complex. Our short-term goal or medium-term goal is to fill up all those unused guild spots, right? We when we launched the game, we were concerned that there was not enough guild spots for all the players that would be playing. But now current state is there's far more guild spots than there are players. And so our short-term goal is let's fill up those guild spots, get a really solid core community of good players in, and then if we can achieve these goals, then let's turn on the inorganic user acquisition, and hopefully then we have a much more robust and healthy ecosystem. By the time that comes, I'm sure the ecosystem would have materially improved. Okay, that's it for me on this question. Oh, I can do this as well, I guess. So as a little surprise, we have a 2024 holiday event. It's our first holiday. It marks a milestone for us and the team working on Guild of Guardians for all these years. The staff at Immutable will undergo a mandatory office break between the 25th of December to the 8th of January. Right. There will still be a skeleton staff that will be around to operate critical infrastructure, and including some of the community team. We'll also pay out a partial leaderboard reward for the weeks leading into it. But last week, with Special Arena, so basically in 2 weeks' time, I would say. Oh no, wait. Next week's leaderboard reward will be paid out in January. All right, let me clarify that. Next week, it will be this week coming up is a special event. We will pay out until the end of this week, and then the next week is Special Arena. Those rewards will not be paid out until January. And then between the 25th of December to 8th of January, there will be no competitive token rewards. Right? And we want to do that because we as we need to spend time with friends and family. So should our players, we don't want to overburden them with competition and grinding out during this period. But we will provide a special holiday gift for players that engage in the game during those days. Now, the intention here is that it's not a very demanding experience, right? So we've earmarked an exclusive gift to the top 1,000 players who are around over these 2 weeks. We don't. It's quite a cool and special gift, but because it's 1,000 people are getting it, we're not thinking that this is going to really have any significant monetary value. And furthermore, this reward structure will be completely flat, right? Well, I say completely, but we may introduce some minor variation for just because players that do decide to play during this time, we believe they should be recognized for it. But overall, it's not going to have a much impact, especially for those players that do it. So you really, if you want to grind out this game mode, you must be doing it because you love it, as opposed to that with kind of like dangling incentives for you to do so. We will announce further details for this special gift on the 20th December. Okay, I think that marks the end of it. So we have time for Q&A.
Any other questions to pick up?
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat now. I think we do have a few more slides that have some of the questions that came from what you all submitted earlier. Is that right? I think Josiah, you were going to go through a couple of those, but we'll take a break right now to get some questions from those of you in the chat that have questions.
I can jump in. Let's see. So I saw one of the questions pop up in the sheet about like attack scaling too high, and it's a little confusing sometimes when like you're playing through a game mode. We'll just say endless because endless is the prime offender here. Of like I've got a team and they're one-shotting everybody, and I'm just burst clearing room after room after room after room, and then I hit a wall and somebody just one-shots me, and like that sucks. That doesn't feel very good. Like the question was essentially like, can you please balance the attack scaling just like across the board, or in the endless mode specifically? And ultimately, I think this is while I can't argue that like the attack scaling, like changing that wouldn't address it. What I actually think is like the root cause here is that like the game modes themselves being like they're being held to this like legacy game design, game direction vision around endless actually being endless, where like we encourage people to play for as long as possible against like an ever increasing like spike of difficulty that it gets to points where the balance just gets so out of whack that like none of it starts to make sense anymore. And that's where I think a lot of like these questions are coming from. Is like I've reached a point where like the mechanics start to break down and it feels bad. I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. So really what I think is when we're looking at like these endless tests and our new arena tests and some of the new game modes that have been hinted at already here in this call, is like starting there. Like stop trying to make you guys play for an hour for every individual ticket that you spend. And there's a bunch of different ways we can do that. I know some of you guys would probably riot if we were like, hey, you can't restart battles 1,000 times anymore. Like if we did something like that, or if we changed it so that instead of being endless rooms, it's only 30 rooms or 20 rooms or even less than that. And it's more, and each room is more of like a puzzle rather than just kind of being, here's room 2 is skeletons and here's room 3 is skeletons. Like, so yeah, like that to me, point number 1 in terms of game balance right now anyway. What about having gear and chests at certain high levels of endless? Yeah, sure. Yeah. Having rewards that are meaningful is absolutely important. I, for one, was just talking to the team because like I was playing one of our new game modes or something, and I opened a chest and it had like a tier 6 or 7 common item in it, and I like it was like, what is this? Like, why am I? nobody uses common. Like a common tier 7, like it's almost immediately replaceable with like something else that you would get from doing somewhere else. So like why? Or I open another chest and it gives me like 3,000 gold or 50 rubies. It's like none of that feels valuable. So yeah, meaningful rewards always for sure.
All right, we are at the hour mark, so we can take, I guess, let's do one more question. We'll have one more really good question. Make it really good, guys. We'll answer that, and then we got work to do. We got stuff to test. We got updates we need to make. We have to start releasing all this fun stuff we were talking about today.
Buff chests, more gold daily. Brahma would argue otherwise with you.
Few people are typing, so whoever gets their question off first. Does anybody know the Jeopardy jingle?
There we go. No, we can't do any more, otherwise we'll get copy striked. Nailed it.
All right, yeah, I guess we gave you too much. No questions. All right, well, if you do have questions, let us know. We will pass it along to the team that you are seeing here today. Yeah, nothing else. All right, well, thank you guys very much for joining us today for our special edition holiday town hall with the team. Hope you guys loved this as much as I hoped that you would. When everyone was asking if anything good was going to happen at the town hall, I had to keep my mouth shut because I think a lot of good things happened at the town hall. I'm glad we finally got to share it, and I'm even more excited to finally release it. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good break.
Thank you.